Divas! Hope you're all fierce. Welcome to The Performer's Path, the podcast where we delve into the highs and lows of the performance industry and beyond. If it's using your creative juices for onstage, in auditions, or those in between jobs, we discuss it all with real people in the industry who've been there and got the t-shirt as a gift. By discussing audition rejections and success, we're taking away the fear of the unknown, whilst also giving vital tips for success. So let's tread the boards together in this week's episode. In BOSH Management Episode 1, we start to talk about judgment being only in your head.
I'm originally from a small sleepy village called Broughton, where everyone in that village all works at the local airplane wing factory at Airbus. So I was one of the few people who decided not to do that. And yeah, I stumbled into sort of performing arts through sort of amateur little pantomime companies. And then from there, it sort of snowballed into weekly dance lessons. And then I went to the Hammond to take it on more seriously. Yeah, that's how I sort of stumbled into Hammond. And I went there when I was 18. Yeah, so that was 2009 to 2012.
What about you, Bryan?
I didn't have a conventional start to the industry. So when I left school, I originally wanted to be in the police force. And it was last minute. We had a careers advisor and he said, "What else do you like doing? You can go on a trial somewhere." And I was like, I kind of like singing and dancing. I was a big fan of Boyzone and a huge fan of Michael Flatley. So I kind of tried to mesh them together. I ended up going to Oldham College for 2 years first to figure out what musical theatre was. I didn't really know that you could have a proper career in it. I didn't know how it worked, knew nothing about it. And then following my final showcase at Oldham College, I only applied for Rambert and the Hammond. Got in the Hammond. I'll never forget my day there. We had mushroom stroganoff in between all the classes. I went there because it was the friendliest. The facilities were amazing. I mean, they're even better now. But even back then, when you were building the first glass fishbowl, it was the wow factor.
Studios, those ones just over from the car park.
Yeah, they were just being built when we were joining. So we had fun there.
We all had fun together, flipping out.
Yeah, we had a belting time. I wish I could go back just for a week, just to live that life again.
We might be able to arrange that,
I'll be there.
So, Josh, talk to us about your time at the Hammond.
Well, you know what? I didn't have very much sort of experience going there at all. Prior to that, I'd done a couple of sort of dance lessons for around 18 months, I think, at a local dance school, which I'm still in touch with. And I adore Rachel Cathell dearly, who's in Munavisa area in North Wales. So going to Hammond for the first time, putting on, oh my God, unitards and ballet humps and things. It was really, really tough at times. But you know what? I think looking back now, as Bryan's just said, I'd give anything to sort of trade. I'd go back in a heartbeat. I really, really would. I really missed it.
We'll have Bryan back.
You have Bryan back. I'm there whether you like it or not. I'm all over the walls. I've seen it. Because I did actually come back to visit, actually. I bumped into David Needham, actually. So I came to watch one of his classes. For the listeners at home, the people who are listening at home, we are currently bowing now on screen. So the time at Hammond was really, really special. I've got some real friends for life that I still keep in touch with. And obviously now I've got one that, I'm literally attached at the hip with. And if I hadn't have gone to Hammond, if Bryan hadn't gone to Hammond, then this company wouldn't have happened. And, where we are today wouldn't have happened. Yeah. And I owe so much to those teachers. I really, really do. You included. What you passed on to me and sort of instilled in my mind, into my work ethic. Yeah, I owe a lot to that. So if anything, the faculty that were there at the time who trained me and Bryan, we owe a hell of a lot to, seriously.
Is that why you guys haven't had a holiday in years?
Yeah, we're too busy working. Yeah.
So what were the real tribulations that you faced there? What were the fears that you faced?
For me, it was because I was a late starter in the technical side of things. It was certainly how far behind am I? What am I going to have to do to try and catch up? How big's the year going to be? Are we going to get on? It was my first time moving away from home as well. So just living by myself or with other students. We didn't pick who we lived with. We just turned up at good old Ballsworth Road and I met Lydia and Natalie. And then I guess it's the expectation as well. I didn't know from day one what was expected of me, how much discipline I was going to need, how to pace myself over a week. I'll never forget that first week going absolutely balls to the wall in everything. And on the Friday, I was like, oh my goodness, this just it's not sustainable to do that all the time. And it's the same now, you do an 8-show week. It isn't sustainable to go 150% every second of the day. It's not realistic. but quickly learning how to do that without looking like you're not doing that.
Yes.
That was a real big skill for me
And
to
when do you think
try
you
and
learned
master.
that?
I learned it in good ways and bad ways, for sure. Trying to burn the candle at both ends was very quickly learned. I'll never forget, we were Rocky rehearsals and we were not behaving. The entire school, may I add. And you came in and gave us a tie bow lesson.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. And people were leaving to be sick. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you need to tighten the screws a bit here.
I was so glad I had no sense of smell that day.
Yeah, it was rough. But I think as well is watching other people. I think we came into a really lucky year that the grads we were looking up to were Anna Hairsnake, Johnny, we had Kelty in there, Daryl. So watching them in their show doing Tans and doing Tracy Baxter's stuff, it was nice to look and go, okay, we want to be like them.
Yeah.
We see how they've acted and we need to try and duplicate that really, yeah.
Yeah. So what about you, Josh? What tribulations, what real obstacles did you face?
I think it was weirdly enough an overcome of the feeling of performing in front of other people. That was definitely something that, even though that's what I wanted to do, and I knew sort of deep down somewhere, I really want to do that, there's still that fear of, oh God, what are other people going to think and say when I sort of put myself in that vulnerable position? Because it does make you feel vulnerable, I suppose, when you're, trying to breeze across the room and everyone else seems to be doing it beautifully, and yet you are there sort of fumbling with your massive feet that feel like they're both on the left-hand side.
You feel like you've got about 15 of them and they're all getting in a knot together.
100%. And I think, yeah, it is the case of, like Brian was saying, you've just listed just a handful of like fantastic Hammondies that have come out of there. I mean, you've got like people like Stacey and Sharif. I remember just looking at it, I think, oh my God, I'll never be like that. And people like Tom and Dan, who I think they were the year above me, who they just look so fantastic. And I'm fumbling behind them in a ballet class or something. So yeah, that was a huge sort of obstacle for me to sort of have that genuine belief in my own ability. And that is something that probably did take the 3 years and then some to kind of learn.
If you would speak to yourself right now with what you know right now, with that in mind, what advice would you give? Because so many of my students say exactly the same as what you've just said. They look at other people and they compare themselves. And quite frankly, it's not a healthy comparison.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to yourself?
I'd say to little Josh in 2009, I'd say, look, the only person in your way is yourself. It sounds a bit corny now I've said that out loud, but it really, really is. That is the case. It was only me in my head that would say and do things that really mattered to me. I was like, what? That's not perfect. I didn't get that. That didn't happen. That note's flat. Or you fell out that turn, or that leap wasn't high enough, your leg is low, blah, 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 blah. Those sorts of mental states that you get yourself into, it's only really created in your own head. What everyone else is saying is actually very encouraging, or really, they are too busy focusing on what they're doing to worry about you. So that is my worldly advice years on.
I remember saying to you, I remember giving you notes and saying, I'd literally get the first part of it out and go, that was really good. You go, yeah, but I fell out in the pirouette. Can I finish?
Yeah, that was definitely a personal pitfall of mine in terms of having a glass half full sort of mentality, when in reality, I should have picked on more positive moments. When people talk about judgment, they always think, oh, it's going to be negative judgment. When in reality, it could be equal. So you can be judged in a very, very positive way as well. And usually that was what's happening from a lot of teachers. It was always incredibly encouraging. Yeah.
What about you, Bryan? You faced a few as well. So what would you say to yourself?
I think I'd say everyone's thinking the same as you are. So you're up there thinking, they're all talking about me. They're all thinking the same thing. And everyone else is so wrapped up in worrying about their own self that they're not actually thinking about you. And I say it all the time, like when I go to the gym or if someone comes in, they go, oh, that person's looking at me doing that exercise. They're not, because they're so busy thinking about themselves that they're not actually thinking about you. And I think what Josh said is right, the glass half full thing. And I think sometimes you have to just go, there is water in the glass. It's being actually realistic with yourself.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Look at us bouncing off our own analogies, like a little tennis match.
I feel like I'm watching Wimbledon, love. Go and get me some strawberries. So what happened after Hammond?
I was very lucky that I
Was it luck, Bryan?
No.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was blooming hard work.
It was a little bit getting there because the story goes, I actually don't know if you know this. The story goes, My family didn't have a lot of money when I was at Hammond and growing up. We were a working class family. My parents bought their council house not too long ago, and I was brought up in that estate. So all the spare money was spent getting me trains or coaches down to London. And my mum booked this flight to Germany to audition for Dirty Dancing. Now, I thought, this is the show for me. This is the one. So I flew out to Germany. I did the audition and I got cut first round. And I was devastated. The week before, I had texted my mum and said, hey, is the train booked down to London for the Royal Caribbean Saturday Night Fever audition? And she was like, no, that's next week. And I was like, no, Germany's next week. That's this week. She was like, I've not booked it. We can't afford it. You can't go. She found a coach, a National Express coach that left at 8 o'clock, which was the only thing left. The 12 o'clock one had gone. So I got into London by myself at midnight on the Sunday. And my mum was going, what are you going to do? Like, we can't afford a hotel. I was like, I've got friends in London. Don't worry about it, Mum. I didn't know a single person in London. I didn't know a single person south of Birmingham. So I got some newspapers and I got my little pink suitcase and I slept in the doorway of Wicked. That's the only thing I knew. I knew how to get from Victoria to Pineapple and back. And I slept there and I was so cold and petrified that I was sleeping in another like homeless person's territory. And I was like, if they come at me, I'm in big trouble here. Anyway, woke up the next day, walked to the Burger King that I knew, which is in Leicester Square. I bought some chips to get my barcode, to go to the toilet, had a wash, had a shave, got ready for the audition, went to the audition, met Josh in a line, and he was like, Christ, you look rough. I was like, you're not going to believe what has just happened to me. So I did the audition. They called me back. I called my mom and I was like, look, I'm going to have to stay here till Wednesday. So she put me in a hostel in a room with 12 other people, random people. Did the audition. Then I went to Germany, got cut. So then I had a meltdown on the train or home. I was like, I'm not doing this, Mom. I don't think this is for me. I hate rejection, la, 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 la. And then about 5:30 in the morning, I got a text from then the casting director of Royal, Patrick Mullaney, and just said, don't worry, you'll get a contract offer tomorrow for Chicago. All is good. So in the space of about 20 seconds, my life just went whoosh. And that was in the May, and I flew out at the end of June, and I started rehearsals for Chicago.
All right, that's it for another episode. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And wherever you are on your performer's path, stay safe and sane, and let your creative light shine bright on whatever you do.